always kind of wondered something. Why is it that people always seem to demonize these video games? I mean, you don't hear it much now because it's become like a mainstream thing. But back in the day, like, it used to be a big thing. Like all those violent video games, you're gonna make these people shoot up their schools and stuff like that. It's like, not really. Sure, it might make them rage and throw their controllers at the computer or screen or whatever, destroying thousands of dollars in property that their parents probably bought. But I never really thought that held much water, at least in my opinion. The scientific fact that a lot of the stuff that people just say are true but actually aren't just makes me think that culture is weird. Like, think about it like this. Remember when TV first started? Remember how back in the day your mom or dad would say, "Oh, TV's gonna rot your brain." It's like, my brain's perfectly fine. In fact, it's probably smarter from watching a lot of the TV shows that I do, especially than nowadays. Nowadays, you could probably get super smart and actually really good around people just watching television. Seriously, do you know how much science was in Mythbusters? That's all science. I loved that show. Some of the greatest things out there now have like so much different stuff. Gravity Falls, for instance, now actually has commentary on a lot of the stuff. And it's for kids, and it's a cartoon, and it's actually enjoyed by a lot of people. Another good example that I like. There's a ton of these kinds of examples. But back in the day, a lot of people thought that, oh, well, this and this and this are just weird. Society's weird, you know? I always want to find something to demonize, and always want to find something that they can point fingers at, and like, that's the enemy, that's who we're fighting against, because, I don't know, I'd always like to think in my personal philosophy that the only reason that we can't get along is because society exists. That's the only reason. If society doesn't exist, if we all had one big giant culture, I'm pretty sure there would be at least minimal conflict. Not a utopia, but like extremely minimal conflict. But some people are just, they can be so close-minded and so like, this is the way that things have to be. It has to be like this, this, and this. Which is odd. I never really found out about that. I mean, sure, there are certain topics that I don't really want to go too deep into, and there are certain people that I don't really feel too comfortable around, but that doesn't necessarily make me a bad person. At least, I hope not. Sure, I might feel uncomfortable around this person because they look weird, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to just say it outright, or that doesn't mean that I'm just going to make fun of them for it. That just means that I feel a little bit uneasy because I don't really know this person, and I don't know how to really go about talking to them, because I don't really know how to do that much about that anyway. I just feel that it sometimes just doesn't. Don't run me over this time. It's weird, okay? My brain's weird. I always like to. Whatever. I'm not in any vehicle. So what else? But yeah, culture is a very interesting thing, because if you look at the entirety of the world, each culture is completely and utterly different. Thinking about it in terms of the amount of culture in each of the world in the world is incredible. I mean, you have, I think you can mainly break it down into 3 different categories. You have your the first one, which is the Western culture. You have the Eastern culture, I think. I don't we need an engineer. I think like it can be broken down like I guess it's like I said, Western culture as in like we need an engineer. America and stuff like that. Maybe in Europe, or that might be a completely different culture altogether. Are you serious? But depending on where you live, it can be very different. For me, for instance, where I grew up, I mean, even in the country that I grew up in, even in America, where I'm growing up, where I grew up, actually, has a bunch of different cultures depending on the state. In fact, in health class, I learned that in some states, it's actually like not allowed to be taught like certain things in school. which just sounds odd. Because to me, I've always been exposed to all this sorts of thing because I've been to places like New York. I've been all around, and I've met a whole bunch of different people.
Moving in.
It kind of like hurt my hand playing video
How
games.
do I repair?
But yeah,
Oh, okay.
I just think all this started
Repairing,
talking. I
repairing.
think I just started talking about this because of video game violence and
I'm
stuff.
repairing a terminal.
But I don't think that
Terminal repaired.
video game violence is as big of an issue as a lot of people think it is.
Come on, baby.
There's a lot of bigger issues out there other than just people playing violent video games. I mean, sure, violent video games can technically make the person a bit more angry because it's a bit more of a competitive environment. I myself actually
Cool.
hurt my hands on a number of times because I just like beat on things. Mainly my own head because I'm just like, it's a thick skull, so whatever.
Oh God. Oh no. What the hell?
But yeah, I really, yeah, but sometimes that's just more of a, that's a more of a natural phenomenon actually. Because if you think about it in terms of the way that your brain is actually programmed, your brain wants to win. Always, when in a competitive environment, your brain wants to win. That's how competition is. Your brain wants to go, and it wants to, when it gets that victory, it wants to get that victory and then reward itself by giving itself dopamine, which
Sweet.
pretty sure most people above the 5th grade science level, maybe even some 1st grader science level, will understand. But it's basically, in layman's terms, a chemical in your brain that's just like the reward chemical, which is rewarded whenever you do something awesome or cool or get like a big accomplishment. An example being playing a video game and beating that really hard boss that kept kicking your butt over and over and over again. Seriously.
What?
Sometimes bosses in video games are just really difficult.
Oh, you're at the.
And I think that's why a lot of people
Moving in.
get very competitive about it. And that's why probably Dark Souls is a big franchise because, well, it's tightly designed, it's hard as hell, and it's basically like when you get it and you do it and you're in the zone, and everyone who plays video games, everyone who's done like a thing, like knows when you're in the zone, and you everything goes perfect. If you want a more real life example, think about it like this: it's the bottom of the ninth. The bases are loaded.
Look at this.
You are you are 2 runs away. You need to knock this thing out of the park.
Going.
Okay? Maybe you don't play baseball. Maybe you play football.
Yeah, they're taking C as
It's
well.
it's the bottom of the last quarter or whatever. And you're down by you're like down way down like 50 yards and to the goal or something like that. And you just need to like push it all the way to the touchdown thing or whatever. But basically, it's like that. It's like playing a sport. When everything goes well, and the luck can sense an awesome smile upon you, you literally feel like that rush of just the crowd cheering and everyone's just like, ah, and it's just like, yes! But yeah, and it's just the best feeling in the world. I've had some video game moments where I've literally clutched rounds by just like playing it safe, focusing, and just just perfectly executing, and everything just goes so much my way, and I'm cracking a smile so much about just talking about this. But yeah, so what specifically about this is interesting. So where was I going with this? Oh yeah, I was basically talking about the sheer fact that a lot of the stuff about video games just seems to be kind of false. And I just wanted to, I don't know, a lot of people have probably said this before, and I'm probably just preaching to the choir at this point, but to think that that's a big thing about video games and the violence of it, there are a lot bigger things out there. There are a lot more different sort of things out there that are of higher quality. And it's interesting to note that a majority of the facts that a lot of people think that they know are actually false. And I just want you to think about that. That a lot of the facts that you probably know, probably abide by for the most part
I got sniped.
are actually false, and that
Where
they probably don't have
Where
much
are you
fact to back them up.
That's not me.
I mean, yeah, it
This is me.
seems unlikely because
I got
maybe
sniped,
most of the
by the
stuff
way.
that you learned was in school.
So that means that there's
But-
enemies.
To think about it in this terms, Napoleon actually wasn't short. Napoleon actually wasn't really short. He was about average height for his
I'm in my vehicle
his
now.
time period, 5'9". The only reason why we say that he's short now is because of propaganda.
Wait, hold on.
It's weird, right?
Friendly? I can't
And a
tell.
lot of the stuff you can literally look up on the internet. You have it. And that's why I think, let me just give out some of my closing thoughts here. A lot of the stuff that people say about video games is
Tank? Oh,
false.
God.
That it's mainly for
Whoa.
guys, that mainly guys do this and this do that. And it's actually not as true as you think.
Shutter,
because
shutter.
There's a lot of actual facts and a lot of actual science being put into this.
Alright, moving in
And
on the station
until
now.
those things, like, you can look it up.
Uh,
That's what I would say. Do the
can't really
research.
do much about that.
Don't just say it. Do the research. Make it work. And
They really split our
understand
forces
that you're not always right.
up. Are they
And
trying
that
to
other
capture
people
my base
can
again?
definitely be
Oh, shit,
right.
They're capturing the
So,
capturing
yeah.
the outpost again.
I really want to thank you all for watching me rant on about this little thing. I kind of just wanted to make a video because I don't post videos often, and maybe have this one on the back burner. So if it's released kind of late or
Not even
whatever,
at the amp station.
you know why. This video is just an audio recording that I kind of just made in the background, and whatever gameplay it is some just spare footage that I really kind of had. But yeah, I want to thank you all for watching. Peace off.
Because they have us on the defense.